For this list, we'll be taking a look at the history of space exploration programs, whether it occurred during liftoff, re-entry, or training and testing, as long as it was an accident related to aeronautics. As part of the very first group of men selected for cosmonaut training in 1960, Valentin Bondarenko could have been Russia's first man in space. However, 10 days into a 15-day experiment in a low-pressure altitude chamber, a fire broke out. After an alcohol-soaked cotton ball he had used to clean himself landed on a hot plate, the flames quickly spread through the oxygen-rich environment, leaving third-degree burns over most of his body. He died 16 hours later at just 24 years old. The Soviet government kept his death and involvement in the cosmonaut program secret for decades. But today, a crater on the far side of the moon is named in Bondarenko's honor. Number 9. The VSS Enterprise crash.
The project was dealt a serious setback when its Spaceship Two exploded during its
spatial suborbital space flights. The company was testing one such ship, the VSS Enterprise, in the Mojave Desert in California. Shortly after detaching from the launch vehicle, the craft began to break apart due to an unidentified in-flight anomaly. Pilot Peter Siebold was ejected from the craft, parachuted to safety, and sustained non-life-threatening injuries. However, co-pilot Michael Alsbury was not able to get free of the craft and died in the crash.
It is almost unbelievable that anybody could survive a rocket plane crash at the speed of sound.
Number 8. Michael J. Adams. After leaving MIT, U.S. Air Force pilot Michael Adams received the A.B. Hunts Trophy as the top scholar and pilot in his class at the Air Force Experimental Test Pilot School. No doubt he was on the fast track to being an astronaut. In 1966, he joined the X-15 program, which was developing a hypersonic rocket-powered and experimental aircraft. Adams had completed 6 flights successfully in the X-15 prior to November 15, 1967. During his 7th and final flight, however, the aircraft began to spin violently at Mach 5 and entered a dive. The G-forces exerted on the craft were too much, and it broke apart, killing the 37-year-old Adams. The U.S. Air Force posthumously awarded him his astronaut wings. Number 7. Intelsat's
90 seconds to go.
4 News, seconds away from blasting off.
Second.
The voice of launch control, Hugh Harris.
Liftoff.
Liftoff. Rocket boosters kicking in.
Space shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Challenger going into its roll. That's planned. Spiral away from pad 39B, the first use of pad 39B since the old Apollo days and the Skylab missions. It's chilly in Florida. Icicles formed on the pad overnight. NASA engineers they might have broken off during the launch and affected the fragile heat protection tiles that protect the shuttle on its way back in during re-entry.
We'll throttle down to 65% shortly.
Don't know what the effect might be just yet. The astronauts will take a look later on during the mission.
Engines at 65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs.
APUs, the auxiliary power units.
2,257 feet per second. Altitude 4.3 nautical miles, downrange distance 3 nautical miles.
It's always amazing to hear how quickly the shuttle moves. It's already more than 4 miles downwind.
Engines throttling up to the engine now, 104%.
Mission,
Velocity 2,900 feet.
mission will launch. My God.
1 minute 15.
There's been an explosion.
Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles, downrange distance.
Mission will
Challenger, go with
more than 4 miles downwind.
Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%. Challenger, go with throttle up. Challenger, go with throttle up.
The shuttle mission will launch. My God. There's been an explosion.
Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles, downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
This is not standard. This is not something that is planned, of course. I can see a solid rocket booster has broken away from Shuttle Challenger. That's what you're looking at in the middle of your screen. I cannot see the shuttle itself. I don't know if it's able to continue on one rocket booster. If it's able to jettison that rocket booster, it will be able to return to the Kennedy Space Center. Perhaps. The shuttle engines are not enough to power the shuttle back down. It would have to shut down.
Looking very carefully at the situation.
8:08 a.m. 1.5 hours to liftoff. At Kennedy Space Center, final preparations are underway for the most anticipated space mission since the glory days of the Apollo era.
I'm just doing some of this creative mess. So hard to get out.
These are the 6 most disastrous space travel catastrophes. These fatalities are absolutely mind-blowing. Number 6, the Challenger disaster. Members on board. The disaster was the result of a motoring failure, which ultimately led pressurized gas from the rocket motor pouring out onto the external fuel tank. This caused the orbiter to break apart. When the Challenger disintegrated over the Atlantic Ocean, it was not known how quickly the 7 crew members died. It comprised of Michael J. Smith, Dick Scobie, Judith Resnick, Ronald McNair, Gregory Jarvis, Ellison Onizuka, and Krista McAuliffe. Photos of the disaster show that the crew cabin did exit the wreckage intact as it plummeted towards the ocean. Experts agree that if the cabin did not depressurize, it is likely that they were still alive from the time of the breakup until the cabin crashed into the ocean. But the violent impact with the ocean's surface would have killed any crew member that was still alive. It was not possible for the crew to escape safely. NASA opted to not include launch escape systems in the shuttle, believing the shuttles were so reliable that the need for an escape system was unnecessary and technically unfeasible. After the disaster, NASA looked back into the prospect of launch escape systems and designed a system that gave crews the ability to escape the shuttle during gliding flight. But even this feature would not have saved the lives of its 7-member crew. Number 5, Soyuz 11. The 3-member crew of the Soyuz 11 died on June 30th, 1971, while attempting to re-enter Earth's atmosphere. When their cabin became depressurized, the 3 cosmonauts, Georgy Dobrovolsky, Vladislav Volkov, and Viktor Kataev, all suffocated to death. They hold the distinction of being the only 3 people to die in space. Their mission had been to board the world's first space station, Salyut 1. They did that successfully and stayed for 22 days, performing tasks such as replacing a ventilation system, holding a live TV broadcast, and even had plans to observe a rocket launch, a plan that had to be postponed. On June 30th, everything appeared to be going fine, but after re-entering Earth's atmosphere and a seemingly successful landing in the Soviet Union, officials opened the capsule door to find all 3 men sitting motionless. They were bleeding from their ears and noses and appeared to have blue marks all over their faces. Doctors determined that the crew had suffocated to death. When a ventilation valve accidentally jolted open, it caused the pressure equalization seal to loosen. This was the seal that kept the required amount of pressure in the cabin. Once the cabin lost its pressure, it's likely that the cosmonauts died within seconds. The state-controlled Soviet media did not release details of the cause of death for nearly 2 years after the tragedy. However, there was a memorial placed at the spot where the capsule landed, and a group of hills on Pluto has been named Soyuz Kolev.
Joe.
Yeah?
Come and eat bums and legs and you're going to the popcorn.
Okay.